Well, hello everyone. It's Civil Star here to give the astrological update for the next few weeks. As you may have noticed, I have a different background. I'm trying this out. I know it's a virtual background, but it sure is fun to sit in front of the zodiac while I'm giving a report. So I'm experimenting, and so let's see how this works. All right. So we have some events coming up this month. We first off is the full moon in Scorpio, which is on May 7th at 3:45 p.m. Pacific time. Not p.m. Excuse me, a.m. Early in the morning, Pacific time. The Venus goes retrograde and on May 12th, and we have. Let's see, Pluto has gone retrograde. Venus will be going retrograde. Then we have Jupiter and um, um, Saturn also going retrograde. Yes, I needed to look those dates up. So yes, Saturn goes retrograde on May 11th. Venus goes retrograde on May 12th. And Jupiter goes retrograde on May 4th. So we'll be having, and then when we get further into June, we'll have 5 and even 6 planets retrograde. And a retrograde happens when they appear to be moving, the speed of their orbit changes or our orbit increases, but they appear to be going backwards even though they're not. And that always appears to happen when they come in opposition to the sun, on the other side of the earth, in opposition to the sun. So those things are happening. The nodes of the moon have changed, and they changed just last night here in, 4th or 5th, depending on where you are in the world, of May. They have gone from the nodes of the moon being in a Cancer Capricorn axis into a Gemini Sagittarius axis. All right, so those are some of the things that are going on. Pluto went retrograde on April 24th, and the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is still going on and loosely involved with Saturn, which has changed signs into Aquarius. Not in Capricorn at this moment, but will retrograde back into Capricorn. Alrighty, so, and then I'll talk a little bit more as we go along. So the full moon, what does the full moon bring? Well, the full moon is always highly emotional. When we look at when women used to follow the cycles of the moon, their fertility schedule, they were most fertile at the full moon when they bled together, when they mooned together. That's what they called it. And when the dark of the moon is when they actually had their moon, when they bled together. But they were fertile in the full and bled in the dark of the moon. And so, and it's often a time of heightened emotions, as we know from like the police reports and emergency rooms. They're always a lot busier when the moon is full. And the earth itself rises about 6 inches in response to the moon. And of course, we know the tides of the moon. We know that the tides always respond to the moon. So it's, it has a very strong force field. And so the moon in Scorpio, what does that mean? So Scorpio is also about deep feeling, deep emotion. So this could be a very emotional full moon, okay? And I'm just going to share what I have been feeling. And this has actually been going on a little longer, but it's coming, it seems to be getting stronger the closer we get to the moon, is that I have had a whole lot of inner emotional turbulence. I've tried to put names on it like, oh, I'm angry, or oh, I'm anxious, or this or that. And I've just really settled with the term emotional turbulence. There is a lot of emotional energy swirling around, and some of it I really can't name and don't really want to, and don't want to put a story with it. I know it's energy moving in me, and it's emotional in nature. But sometimes it just gets so intense. And what works for me to be able to work with this energy is to be on Mother Earth, however it is that you can be on Mother Earth. The full moon is always opposite the sun, and the sun is in Taurus. And Taurus is just so much about Mother Earth and grounding into her. And the energy of Taurus is about um, being like the tree whose roots go deep into the ground while the storm swirls around. It's not that your life isn't stormy. It is about finding that inner peace, that grounding in these deeply emotionally turbulent times. There's so much swirling around. And this is also called the Wesak moon. This is when the Buddha was the Buddha was born on the Wesak moon, the full moon in Taurus in May. And so the Wesak moon is very much about patience, inner peace, compassion. So it's like, how do we find that in the midst of this turbulence? And so that's what a big piece of this is about. And I just want to share just how much going to the park, since they've opened the parks here, or at least the parks that I can go to, and being out in nature, and I just allowing myself retreat time there. I just take the time off. I've discovered it as part of my self-care, and that I must do it. And I just couldn't recommend it enough as well. And the other thing is when I go, I hug a tree and I lay on rocks. And what I have found, when I lay down on a rock, I have discovered that with my back laying open and my arms wide open, is how much I have been holding my heart. I've been kind of scrunching in. And, that's often, heart protection. And so when I lay on the rock, I'm able to fully expand my heart muscles, my chest, and take some deep breaths of, a prana, of air. And I feel so much better. And then just lay there in the sun and kind of just bake like a lizard. And I feel so much better for doing it. And I'm going to say, as I go to the park, I've discovered there's so many families there now fishing and spending time together in nature. And it's really a lovely sight to see. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the planet that rules Scorpio, which is Pluto. So Pluto is god of the underworld, and Pluto is always somewhere. Pluto has been in Capricorn for quite a few years now, and will be there a few more. And wherever Pluto is where he shows us the underbelly of what we're looking at. And in this case, of course, it is our institutions. But when Pluto goes retrograde, it becomes more personal. And it feels like an alignment with this Scorpio moon. It is a time of inner purification. Pluto can bring purification. And we're called, many are saying we are in the times of the great purification. And it sure seems that way. And Pluto's going to be retrograde for about 5 months. Going to go he's now at 24 Capricorn. He's now going to go retrograde back to 22 and then go retrograde back to 24. So if you have planets based really between, I'm going to say 21 and 25 of Capricorn, or even any of the cardinal signs, such as Aries, Libra, or Cancer, Pluto is impacting you. And Pluto is kind of, I call him the roto-rooter of the zodiac. He goes in deep. He's clearing out old dead energy and stagnant energy that no longer belongs there. Okay, that is not serving you in any way. And so it can bring up lots of old feelings. Pluto is about feeling. Pluto is the feeling journey. If you haven't been able to allow yourself to feel when Pluto goes retrograde, that's what it's about. And it's about feeling your way through and cleaning out, doing housekeeping on your emotional body. And so it also brings up encounters with the shadow, and with our own shadow, with the collective shadow. But this is the area that Pluto brings to light, because that is about how it works, is bringing these shadow parts of ourselves to light so that we can heal them, and that so they no longer control us. This new moon or full moon is also trine Neptune. And Neptune is that place where we are all connected. it is the field. It is energy, and it reminds us that everything is energy. We are finding that out. We are remembering that. Um, and it is reminding us too of basically what is moving through the field. The obvious is, of course, the virus. And Neptune reminds us everything is energy. So there is an energetic mystery component to this virus. There's only so much that can be understood intellectually, um, because there is an energetic component, and how this is moving through the field. The nodes of the moon, and basically just how everything is energy, not just this virus. It is just moving through the energy field, but everything is energy. And that's what Neptune tells us. And that it is also the divine heart. It is about divine love and reminding us that we are not alone and that we are supported. Now, the nodes of the moon have changed, and the nodes of the moon, what they symbolize. I'm not going to get into the astronomy and the physics of what they are, because I might not get it exactly right, but I can tell you what they actually mean. And so the south node of the moon represents our emotional conditioning prior to this lifetime. It represents experiences that our soul has had, and when it's collective, it's a collective experience. And it's really about what we're releasing, what we're letting go of, because the north node, which is the opposite, is the way we move forward in life. Okay, it is about it's called the North Star. And so the south node of the moon is it's moved from Capricorn to Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is about our belief systems. That there are some old, outdated belief systems. And I just got a book, I haven't started reading it yet. It's called The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And just how much our beliefs actually create our world. And they say that a belief is really just a thought that has been thought over and over again, and it has created a groove in our brain. So there are some old beliefs that are no longer serving us personally and collectively, that are going to be up for review. And also Sagittarius has a lot to do with faith, okay? And having blind faith is related to our beliefs, okay? The North Node is in Gemini, and Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and it is about the mind. It's about critical thinking. It is about questioning. It's about being curious, and it is about having an open mind, open to the wonders of the universe, and recognizing that, what we don't know, that, what is it? The first step of wisdom is recognizing that what we don't know, okay? And so it is allowing the new ideas to come in, and Gemini is the archetype of the heretic. It truly is about questioning everything, and there being no sacred cows. Now, Neptune is in a square to this, okay? And as I talked about earlier, Neptune is the field. Neptune is energy. And Neptune is something you cannot understand with your left brain intellect. So on one hand, we're being, okay, this is what they say, is that our mind is there. And that is the Mercury piece, the Gemini piece, that our mind is there to help us discriminate and ask the questions. Neptune, which represents the divine heart, is about truth. It is about the truth that lies in our heart. Okay, and it is about it is about the mystery, and that there are some things that our left brain will never be able to understand. And it's about moving into, I'm going to say, as we're moving more and more into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is very much about that connection between science and spirituality. And I heard someone say, he was talking about using the molecular microscope. He said it can go so magnified that it goes to just before the invisible space. He said just before the God particle is what he said. It can take us that far, but it hasn't been able to take that leap yet. But I feel like when we go into, more we move into Aquarius, and Neptune is not Aquarius, but it is still the field where everything is energy. Okay. And so recognizing that our understanding of the nature of reality is changing. Our old beliefs do not support it. And to be able to move into the new, we need to let go of those old beliefs that this is the only way things can be, because there is so much out there that we do not know. Okay. But that is coming in. And the other thing I want to talk about with the nodes of the moon is that the nodes of the moon often bring in our personal myth. Okay. And you know what they say about a myth? A myth is something that has never happened but is completely true, the mythic journey. And so I want to talk about the myth of our times, since we have just moved, the nodes of the moon have changed. And that is often what we're looking at when we look at the nodes of the moon. And so what I'm seeing here is a story. And Mercury is a storyteller. Gemini is also a storyteller. And so the story that just really seemed to show up at the time that we are living is the fairy tale, or the fairy tales of where the land is sick. Okay. The land has a sickness. There's been a curse put on the land. The people are in a trance. And it's usually something the king has done, or something, sometimes it's the fairy godmother who was not invited to something. She was discredited, dismissed in some way. But anyway, a curse has been put on the land, and the land is sick. And our land is sick, and it's inner and outer, and it is energetic. It feels like it is an energy. And I'm going to go deeply in after I tell you the myth of how I think it's manifesting and the way to work with it. And so in the story, there's always a hero. There's a hero who comes, whether it's Sleeping Beauty, where she has pricked her finger on the poison spindle. And we live in a poisoned world, and it feels like this is what this is about. We're living in a poisoned world. And so she pricked her finger on the poison spindle, and she went to sleep, and her whole land went into a trance. Or the Grail King, and the land is sick because the king is sick. And so it is the hero that comes in that has the courage. And in the Grail story, the courage is to be able to ask the right question, because it is the right question that heals the land. And in the Grail story, the question is, whom does the Grail serve? And that was, and it serves the king. And what it meant in that story was, or at least one interpretation, is that the king represented the higher good, and the king was not in alignment with the higher good. But by asking that question, it brought it into consciousness and started the healing process, so the king could become aware again. But I'm going to ask a different question, because and that would certainly fit, but also, whom or what does this virus serve? It is an energy as well as something that we can identify with our intellect, but it also has an energy as it moves through this field. And so whom or what does it serve? And that's in that Grail story, the key was to ask the right question. So I'm posing this question, and I'm just going to share what came to me, and you might come to a different conclusion. And this, by the way, is the astrology of the nodes of the moon combined with Neptune, okay? Because Neptune works on a mythic level. It doesn't always, it's not tuned into the intellect, okay? And so whom does the virus serve? Or what? And I came to it's what? And the virus serves our awakening. As hard as that is to believe, it is serving our awakening. It is about waking up. We are in a trance and our land is sick. And the virus is showing us how poisoned our world is, how we have poisoned our world, and how we are living in an illusion. And as the Hopi are saying now, they have a not a prophecy, but a message, a hoping message. And the question is, will you go through? This can be a portal or a hole. And the portal is the awakening. The hole is to go more deeply into the illusion. And so what I see happening around this is that, first off, we have the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction that's been going on, and they're actually conjunct almost the whole year, and it's a challenging aspect. And I feel like it is a piece that is saying, because Pluto is so much of the corruption, it is the decay that wants to be seen. And Pluto, and Capricorn rules our institutions. Okay, rules our institutions such as our government, our financial institutions, their corporations, all of the structures, but it also rules, I'm going to say, the medical establishment, not our doctors and nurses. Okay, I mean, they are within a system that I think the veil of illusion is being pulled back, and that's what this Jupiter-Pluto aspect is showing us. And as the veil of illusion is pulled back, can we see the truth? As the truth is shown to us, can we see it? Because of our beliefs. Jupiter also has to do with our beliefs. Because of our beliefs and our blind faith. It means I heard someone say that, or I read it, I guess, actually, that there is like a religious cult-like devotion to our medical system. And our medical paradigm is just as broken as every other piece of the patriarchal paradigm that we're living in. And I want to say again, this is not our doctors and nurses. They are within, well, let's say the ones who take care of us. They are, the system itself is absolutely broken and is corrupt, and we can see, and as the veil is pulled back, we can see all the ties of the medical establishment to the petrochemical companies, and where the drugs come from, and what a huge amount of profit they all work together and make. And so this is the only paradigm we work with, and it's a faulty paradigm. And there's many doctors and scientists coming forward now saying that, that they've basically been silenced and discredited, and yet they're still coming out. And saying that there are some very faulty pieces in the foundations of our medical paradigm. And it is deeply in bed with corporations and the petrochemical companies and the CDC. The CDC is right there. I mean, they're all there. And the veil is falling if we are willing to look at it and say what we see, that it is there. The second thing that is happening with this is a power grab. There is, and I don't know if it's opportunistic or if it was planned, but this is being used as a way to control the people. And and so that is one thing that is going on. The next thing that I see going on is Saturn is in Aquarius. And Saturn is fear, okay? And the thing is Saturn is in Aquarius right now, okay? It's going to be there for, it's been there about a month and a half, going to be there another month and a half, then move back into Capricorn. And Saturn is about separation. Saturn is that polarity. Saturn rules reality here on Mother Earth, the reality that we're living with, the consensus reality, whatever it is we say consensus reality is. And and Saturn is a separating factor. And in Aquarius is the people. And so what is happening? The people are being separated. Aquarius is about the power of the people. And so how can we be powerful if we are separated? Social distancing and the masks. And so many doctors are coming out and saying now, the masks hurt us more than help us. We're rebreathing viruses and our own CO2. And they're coming out also and saying that, quarantining the healthy is an experiment. We've never quarantined the healthy. We've always quarantined the sick. And so it does seem like there is a pattern here trying to separate the people, making us afraid of each other and afraid to breathe. I mean, what do we do when we're afraid? We don't breathe. We stop breathing, or at least I do. And so by wearing these masks that really don't help, and so many doctors are just really questioning also to we need immunity, and the only way we get immunity is by contact with this virus. That's the way all viruses work. To get immunity, you need contact. And so what I'm saying is, what better way to stay plugged into the illusion than through fear? And so we can wake up, or we can go deeper into the fear and believe everything we're told. Aquarius is also about questioning. Aquarius is about thinking for ourselves. And I am going to say this, I mean, and as we move deeper and deeper into the age of Aquarius, more and more will be said about this, but this is what it is. And it is also about, giving up the need for approval of others. Aquarius asks us that question. When something goes, when other planets go in there, it is about thinking for ourselves and giving up the need for the approval from others. And so it is, like I said, it is about questioning. It is heretical. And I'm just going to share that as I have questioned this, I have many planets in Aquarius, and that's what I do is, I pretty much, I'm a heretic on many levels and question everything, question reality. And as I just started questioning, and I was just questioning numbers to begin with, and then it got into deeper things. And I was shamed, I was attacked, I was even called evil. And I was just questioning numbers. And, and the other thing I want to say too is, as we start questioning the narrative, because the narrative is not true. I don't know what the truth is, but I know the narrative is not true. And I feel like this virus is actually showing up to show us how enslaved we are by fear, and to bring this fear up to the surface to help us unplug from it. And knowing that it is fear that keeps us plugged into this matrix. And one of the other pieces of this is self-judgment and judgment of others. That is also what comes into wearing masks, because we don't trust each other, is this piece of judgment. And so I just want to encourage everyone to question, to think for yourselves, and don't take anyone else's word. Do your own research. This is about thinking for yourself. But once you get, you start finding out different answers, there's many different storylines you can go down. And to me, and just my own perception, is all of the stories are fear-based. And we're in, Uranus is in Taurus right now. And Uranus, is about awakening. It is about consciousness. And in Taurus, it is about the consciousness of Mother Earth. And it is about the consciousness of being in the present moment. And so it's truly like, as you start seeking answers, look around you and see what is happening in your current world. If you didn't have a TV, would you even know the virus existed? Is it in your world? Do you have friends that are sick, or are you hearing about them, or do you know them? What is in your world? And that's really the bigger truth. And that is where we need to look. Something happening 3,000 miles away from here is not happening here where you are. At least I'm going to say in California, where I'm at. And there's projections, there's assumptions, there's we believe this, we believe that, but that's not the truth, So really look for what is happening. And I'm just going to say, when I look around my world, what I see happening is that the numbers of homeless are growing. They're just, the economic situation is very dire. And as long as we're afraid of each other, we're not going to get together and be able to figure out solutions and work through this, because we're also afraid. And it is about waking up from the fear, and that it is being manipulated, and the numbers are manipulated. And I don't know all of the reasons why. I'm not going to say I do, but I see the myth that the land is sick, and we need to start asking the right questions. And the nodes of the moon, I want to say one more thing about them, is that it is showing us that we can dream a new dream. And that is really what this is about. It is about dreaming a new dream. As we're in this downtime, so it actually is a paradox. On one hand, yes, there's a huge manipulation going on. And on the other hand, there is a force of nature that is wanting us to slow down, to pay attention, to has us down so that we can take this pause and really pay attention to what is happening in our world and make different choices and start dreaming the new world into being, because it is coming. The old paradigm is falling and the new one isn't here yet. And so we can, and when we understand everything is energy, and that we create our world, we can then change our world. But the main thing is to unplug from the fear, because when we are afraid, we do not use critical thinking skills. We jump right into emotional responses rather than objectivity and being able to look at the facts clearly. And this is actually where we're being led to. And I also want to just say one more thing about Venus retrograde, because Venus goes retrograde on May 12th. She's retrograde for 6 weeks. And in Venus retrograde times, it is about reassessing and reevaluating our relationships. And it may be, as we're trying to move into more unity consciousness, because this Venus is square Neptune. And so it is about moving into divine love. It really is about moving into taking human love, moving into divine love, and raising our vibration. But in the process, there may be people that aren't ready, that can't hear our message, can't hear what we have to say. That I'm going to say I've had some experiences of, I would say, people who are very upsetting. And so when they're really upsetting, it's just best that I not interact with them for a while, keep them in my heart, but just kind of step away from them. Because that's what this is about. As we create this, in this time of dreaming a new dream, and as we unplug from the fear matrix and start recognizing things are not as they seem, but to really look for what they are, and for understanding, is that the main understanding is about raising our vibration, coming to alignment with Mother Earth. And I want to say one more thing about that, is that with Uranus and Taurus and the consciousness of Mother Earth being so highlighted right now, I saw an article by a young man, and he said, "Why I stopped protesting and started a garden. This is revolution." There's a quote, and I'm not sure who it comes from. I heard Starhawk say it, that permaculture is revolution disguised as organic gardening. And I feel like, it's a return to the earth. It's a return to our local economies. It's a return to nature and aligning with nature. And this is where we find love. We find it with each other, but we also find it in nature. And nature is our guide right now. And so this is what I see this is what I see the paradigm is, and it's constantly shifting a bit. But this is my message for now, and I will be back in 2 weeks. All right, I hope you have a great 2 weeks.